The French Revolution reshaped power, challenged old systems, and redefined what people believed a nation could be. This story follows the forces, decisions, and events that pushed an entire society to transform itself. No exaggeration, just the real shifts that changed history and influenced the modern world. Chapter 1. 1789, Paris was boiling. The common people, starving and taxed to the bone, finally rose. Bread prices skyrocketed, and whispers of revolt spread like wildfire. The storming of the Bastille wasn't just a fight. It was a statement. The oppressed demanded change. History shifted that day, proving one spark can ignite an entire nation. Chapter 2. The Estates General hadn't met for 175 years. When King Louis XVI called it, the Third Estate demanded real power. Locked out of the usual halls, they gathered in a tennis court. Here, the tennis court oath was born. They pledged, "We will not separate until France has a new constitution." Defiance felt electric. Chapter 3. Marie Antoinette's lavish lifestyle became a symbol of inequality. Stories of her saying, "Let them eat cake," spread, true or not. People saw gold while they starved. Public outrage brewed, and propaganda fueled hatred. Symbols mattered as much as reality. The royal image was fractured, and the revolution's momentum grew with each insult. Chapter 4. Political clubs became hubs of revolutionary thought. The Jacobins, the Cordeliers, they debated, planned, and plotted. Ideas spread fast: liberty, equality, fraternity. Knowledge became power. Even the uneducated learned slogans by heart. Revolution was as much mental as it was physical. Minds sharpened, pamphlets printed, and radical ideas became unstoppable waves. Chapter 5. The Great Fear swept the countryside. Peasants, terrified of noble conspiracies, burned manor houses. Rumors became weapons. Even science-backed astronomy reports of bad harvests couldn't calm fears. Panic fueled action. Peasants armed themselves, showing that collective fear, when combined with opportunity, can topple centuries of privilege in a heartbeat. Chapter 6. Louis XVI tried compromise, but indecision killed him. Attempts at reform failed against rising anger. Political paralysis met mass pressure. The king's indecisive moves became fatal mistakes. The monarchy's image weakened daily, while revolutionary leaders gained traction. Science of economics explained rising bread prices, but human anger was unpredictable. Chapter 7. The Declaration of the Rights of Man and of the Citizen was a beacon. Equality, freedom of speech, property rights, all written on paper. Ideals spread through pamphlets and speeches. People believed words could change reality. The document merged Enlightenment science with human experience, reason guiding society. Power now had to answer to law and logic. Chapter 8. Women demanded attention too. The Women's March on Versailles showed that revolution wasn't male-only. Armed with determination, thousands marched to the king's palace. They wanted bread and justice. Their voices reshaped the narrative. Revolution included the hungry, the angry, and the persistent. History often remembers leaders, but masses move mountains. Chapter 9. The guillotine became the revolution's grim symbol. Swift, efficient, and public, it represented equality even in death. Nobles, priests, and revolutionaries themselves fell under its blade. Science of mechanics made it precise, politics made it feared. Death became spectacle, justice, and warning simultaneously. Revolution was reshaping life and death alike. Chapter 10. The monarchy finally fell. Louis XVI and Marie Antoinette faced trial and execution. Europe watched in shock. Their deaths marked the definitive end of absolute power in France. Chains of tradition broke. Revolutionary ideals weren't just words, they were action. Fear, hope, and justice collided in the streets. France was reborn under fire and blood. Chapter 11. Revolutionaries faced external threats. European monarchies feared contagion. Austria and Prussia sent troops to support Louis XVI. France braced for war. Fear of invasion pushed radicals to consolidate power. Military science met political urgency. Citizen armies formed. Ordinary people became soldiers overnight. The revolution wasn't just ideas anymore. It was survival, strategy, and blood on the borders. Chapter 12. The National Convention became the new ruling body. Elected representatives argued fiercely. Girondins and Montagnards clashed, balancing caution against radical change. Logic, philosophy, and raw ambition mixed. Policies passed were experimental, untested, but bold. Governance became performance, debate a weapon, and every vote carried the weight of a nation teetering between chaos and order. Chapter 13. Sans-culottes, the urban poor, became revolution's muscle. They demanded radical change, shouting slogans through Paris streets. Bread shortages fueled anger. Factories and markets felt unrest. Politics wasn't confined to halls. It lived in streets, in chants, and in every hand carrying a makeshift weapon. Revolution thrived where ideas met action, and the city pulsed like a living organism. Chapter 14. The king's trial polarized France. Treason or tradition? Evidence and emotion clashed in the courtroom. Every argument mattered. Science of forensics was rudimentary, yet reason and witness testimony swayed public opinion. Execution became inevitable. Law, politics, and morality intertwined violently. The spectacle showed that even rulers could not escape human judgment. Chapter 15. Louis XVI faced the guillotine. Silence and gasps filled the square. Science ensured precision, but fear made it legendary. The king's death was both symbolic and practical. One head, one message. No person is above the people. France's hierarchy was rewritten in stone, blood, and ink. Revolution had moved from theory to irreversible reality. Chapter 16. Marie Antoinette followed. Her trial, public and brutal, exposed privilege and arrogance. Propaganda amplified her image as enemy of the people. Even minor facts were magnified to mythic proportions. Her execution didn't just remove a queen, it erased centuries of untouchable power. France witnessed that social structures could crumble as quickly as governments. Chapter 17. Reign of Terror began. Robespierre led with iron will. Enemies, real or imagined, faced execution. Fear became a tool of control. Revolutionary tribunals moved fast, decisions final. Science of psychology was crude, but the method worked. Terror ensured obedience. Extremes of human behavior emerged as survival strategy. Radicalism reached its peak, a storm of ideology and power. Chapter 18. Committee of Public Safety controlled life and death. Policies were strict, resources rationed. Spies and informants infiltrated neighborhoods. Revolution wasn't just public, it was personal. Every decision, from bread prices to battle strategy, aimed to preserve the fragile state. Rational calculation met human instinct, and both collided violently in streets and councils. Chapter 19. Civil war brewed in provinces. Vendée rose against radical Paris. Peasants resisted conscription and new laws. Strategy, brutal yet effective, was applied by revolutionaries. Science of logistics clashed with chaos of revolt. France wasn't united, it was fractured, yet the revolutionary core persisted. Conflict tested ideals, showing that rebellion could exist even within rebellion. Chapter 20. Robespierre's influence peaked. Liberty and terror coexisted. He preached virtue while thousands died. Public trials and executions created spectacle and control. Ideals of equality were enforced ruthlessly. History watched paradox unfold. A quest for freedom justified extreme oppression. The revolution's complexity became clear. Progress and cruelty often share the same path. Chapter 21. The guillotine's efficiency shocked Europe. Executions were public events drawing crowds. Science of mechanics made the blade swift, unyielding. Politics and fear intertwined. Nobles, priests, and ordinary people fell alike. Every death reinforced power, yet terror also bred suspicion. In the streets, revolution became ritual, a chilling rhythm of justice and warning. Chapter 22. Revolutionary armies grew disciplined. Citizen soldiers trained rigorously, inspired by ideals of liberty. Strategy meetings mixed theory with necessity. Siege and battlefield tactics combined with raw courage. Science of warfare applied by ordinary men transformed society. Revolution wasn't abstract, it was blood, mud, and relentless determination. Victory became identity. Battlefields were classrooms of history. Chapter 23. Economic reforms tried to stabilize France. Assignats, new currency backed by confiscated land, aimed to control inflation. Theory met chaos. Markets fluctuated wildly. Hunger persisted. Financial science clashed with human unpredictability. Policies intended to save the nation sometimes caused riots. Revolution required constant adaptation, proving ideas alone couldn't feed people. Action and management were essential. Chapter 24. Education became a revolutionary tool. Schools emphasized civic duty, citizenship, and science. Knowledge was weaponized to form loyal citizens. Ideas from Rousseau and Voltaire infused curricula. Revolution extended into minds, not just streets. Teaching became strategic, shaping the next generation to defend liberty while discouraging loyalty to old hierarchies. Minds were the new battleground. Chapter 25. Religion faced scrutiny. Churches closed, clergy monitored. Dechristianization campaigns aimed to replace old faiths with reason and civic festivals. Science and philosophy guided new rituals. Calendars were rewritten, holidays redefined. Belief became political. Freedom of conscience clashed with revolutionary order. People navigated old tradition and new ideology, learning that control could extend even into private devotion. Chapter 26. Sans-culottes continued to shape policy. Neighborhood committees regulated daily life, from food distribution to security. Ordinary citizens wielded power once reserved for elites. Governance became micro and personal. The science of logistics mixed with social pressure. Revolution wasn't distant, it was immediate, tactile, and unavoidable. Every block, every street, every market became part of history in motion. Chapter 27. Foreign war intensified. Austria, Prussia, and Britain sought to crush revolution. Citizen armies fought fiercely, blending enthusiasm with strategy. Science of artillery, fortifications, and supply chains met raw human courage. Defending ideals became patriotic necessity. Victory abroad reinforced legitimacy at home. Revolution survived because ordinary people became extraordinary soldiers, proving that national identity could arise in fire and fear. Chapter 28. Robespierre introduced moral governance. Virtue was law, dissent was dangerous. Public speeches inspired obedience and fear. Science of rhetoric met human psychology. Society responded to charisma and terror simultaneously. Ideals were imposed rigorously. Every word carried weight. Revolution's power wasn't just in armies, it was in persuasive force, shaping hearts and minds with subtle yet relentless pressure. Chapter 29. Cultural revolution followed political upheaval. Art, literature, and festivals reflected new ideals. Symbols replaced monarchy, liberty trees, revolutionary songs, civic ceremonies. Science of printing accelerated propaganda. People embraced spectacle as education. Creativity and ideology merged, proving revolutions shape culture as much as governments. Streets, stages, and pages became classrooms for revolutionary thought. Chapter 30. Robespierre's fall was inevitable. Extremes breed opposition. Arrested and executed, he became martyr and warning. Revolution survived beyond any single leader. Lessons endured. Power demands caution, ideals can consume, and history judges both action and excess. France had transformed, tested by war, terror, and reform. Change proved unstoppable once ordinary people claimed extraordinary agency. Chapter 31. Thermidorian reaction followed Robespierre's fall. Radical policies eased, fear subsided. Streets calmed, but uncertainty remained. Science of governance showed that extremes often collapse under their own weight. Citizens tasted freedom without terror. Revolutionary ideals persisted, but moderation returned. Society learned balance. Liberty required structure, not chaos. The pendulum swung, but lessons of vigilance stayed etched in minds. Chapter 32. New leadership emerged. The Directory sought stability, but corruption and inefficiency plagued it. Economic struggles persisted. Science of economics clashed with human greed. Bread prices fluctuated, markets remained volatile. Citizens questioned authority once more. Revolution had achieved political change, yet social and financial order remained fragile. Experience proved reform required more than laws, it demanded accountability. Chapter 33. Napoleon Bonaparte rose amid chaos. Military genius met opportunity. Citizen armies, trained during revolution, became his backbone. Strategy, discipline, and charisma combined. Science of logistics and battlefield tactics elevated his campaigns. People admired success, even if it replaced one ruler with another. Revolution's offspring sometimes wore unexpected faces, proving that history often bends in surprising directions. Chapter 34. Napoleon's Italian campaign astonished Europe. Speed, strategy, and courage defined every move. Citizen soldiers executed orders with precision. Science of artillery and terrain mastery ensured victories. Propaganda amplified feats. Revolution's energy fueled his rise. France saw proof that disciplined action and knowledge could conquer chaos. Ordinary soldiers became legends, embodying ideals born in rebellion. Chapter 35. Domestic reforms followed. Napoleon restructured laws through the Napoleonic Code. Equality before the law, property rights, and secular governance codified revolutionary ideals. Science of law met practical necessity. Citizens adjusted to new order. Stability emerged from chaos. Revolution's lessons were institutionalized. Ideas became law, showing that long-term change requires systems, not just passion. Chapter 36. Education transformed under Napoleon. Lycees trained bureaucrats, engineers, and soldiers. Civic duty and science education combined. Revolution's intellectual energy fueled practical institutions. Knowledge became strategic, not optional. Ordinary citizens accessed opportunity through structured learning. Revolution's promise endured, now channeled through schools. Society evolved systematically, proving ideas last when taught, practiced, and enforced consistently. Chapter 37. Religious compromise returned. Concordat with the Pope restored limited church influence while maintaining state control. Science of politics met human psychology. People need spiritual comfort, but power requires oversight. Balance replaced extremism. Citizens navigated dual loyalties, understanding that compromise often preserves ideals more effectively than rigid enforcement. Revolution learned to bend without breaking. Chapter 38. Napoleon expanded French influence across Europe. Campaigns reshaped borders, economies, and alliances. Science of warfare combined with diplomacy and strategy. Citizens experienced both pride and burden. Revolution's ideals spread beyond France, inspiring both admiration and resistance. History accelerated as battles, treaties, and ideas collided, demonstrating that national transformation can ripple across continents. Chapter 39. Women's role evolved subtly. While political participation remained limited, education and societal change affected daily life. Revolution opened doors in subtle ways. Science of social change met necessity. Women influenced politics indirectly through family, education, and social networks. Seeds of equality, once planted, grew quietly. Social transformation required patience, proving that revolutions reshape more than governments, they reshape societies. Chapter 40. Economy stabilized slowly under Napoleon. Assignats disappeared, taxation system improved. Infrastructure projects reshaped cities and trade. Science of finance and logistics applied methodically. Citizens adjusted to predictable markets. Revolution's chaos gave way to disciplined administration. Lessons of scarcity, unrest, and reform informed new policies. History demonstrated that ideals thrive only when paired with practical governance. Chapter 41. Napoleon's continental system aimed to weaken Britain economically. Trade bans stretched across Europe. Science of economics met political strategy. Merchants struggled. Smuggling thrived. Revolution's energy now fueled commerce and conflict simultaneously. France projected power through blockade and policy. Success was uneven, but ambition reshaped global trade. History showed that control over goods can challenge nations as effectively as armies. Chapter 42. Napoleon crowned himself emperor in 1804. Symbolism mattered. He claimed authority without church approval, signaling new power dynamics. Science of optics and ceremony amplified impact. Crowds witnessed a revolution-born leader defining legitimacy. Old monarchies watched warily. Revolution's momentum produced extraordinary figures. Authority now derived from accomplishment and influence, not solely birthright. History was bending toward merit and action. Chapter 43. Napoleon's campaigns reshaped Europe's political map. Italy, Germany, and Spain experienced new regimes. Science of strategy and logistics guided movements. Citizens encountered foreign laws and armies. Revolution's ideals traveled, sometimes enforced, sometimes resisted. Borders became experiments in governance. France exported both war and principles. Local populations adapted or rebelled, proving that change is both contagious and contested. Chapter 44. The Peninsular War tested Napoleon's forces. Guerrilla tactics challenged conventional armies. Science of terrain and improvisation proved crucial. Ordinary Spanish citizens fought fiercely. Revolution's lessons of civic engagement met resistance. Prolonged struggle drained resources and morale. Even a disciplined army faced limits when ideology and local knowledge combined. History illustrated that conquest requires more than brute force. Chapter 45. Napoleon invaded Russia in 1812. Harsh winter, long supply lines, and scorched earth tactics devastated troops. Science of logistics met brutal environmental reality. Citizen soldiers suffered extreme conditions. Revolution's ideals clashed with nature's limits. Retreat became survival, and loss reshaped Europe's balance of power. Campaigns proved that ambition alone cannot conquer geography, climate, or human endurance. Chapter 46. The Russian campaign's failure weakened Napoleon's hold. Allies regained strength, morale faltered. Science of strategy emphasized preparation, yet unpredictability remained. Citizens and soldiers witnessed the fragile nature of even powerful empires. Revolution's energy alone could not sustain endless expansion. History recorded that human ambition must respect limits, both natural and societal, before ideals translate into lasting authority. Chapter 47. Napoleon abdicated in 1814, exiled to Elba. The emperor's fall shocked Europe. Power shifted quickly. Citizens experienced relief, uncertainty, and adaptation. Science of governance and succession became vital. Revolution's ideals persisted, showing that societies outlive leaders. Even dramatic figures are temporary. History cycles continued. Institutions and collective memory held stronger influence than any single ruler's ambition. Chapter 48. The 100 Days followed. Napoleon escaped Elba, rallied troops, and regained power briefly. Citizen soldiers returned loyalty, strategy renewed. Science of morale and propaganda proved effective. Revolution's energy reignited. History demonstrated that resilience and charisma can momentarily alter the course of nations. Yet the final outcome depended on broader forces, coalitions, geography, and strategy, not just ambition or courage. Chapter 49. The Battle of Waterloo ended Napoleon's comeback. Allied forces combined strength and strategy. Science of battlefield positioning, timing, and communication played decisive roles. Citizen soldiers fought fiercely, but coordination overwhelmed them. Revolution-born leaders met collective resistance. History illustrated the limits of individual power when faced with organized opposition. Ambition collided with reality, shaping Europe's future decisively. Chapter 50. Napoleon was exiled to St. Helena. Deathly isolation ended a life intertwined with revolution. Citizen soldiers and citizens reflected on change wrought across Europe. Science of observation and memory preserved lessons. Revolution's energy created leaders, wars, reforms, and ideas that persisted beyond individuals. History demonstrated that movements endure, ideals evolve, and nations remember both triumph and failure. Chapter 51. The Congress of Vienna redrew Europe's map. Diplomats aimed to restore balance after revolutionary chaos. Science of negotiation and strategy guided decisions. Borders shifted, monarchies regained power, yet revolutionary ideas lingered. Citizens adapted to new rulers. History showed that even failed leaders can inspire long-term change. Revolution left marks on governance, law, and society that persisted beyond battlefields. Chapter 52. French citizens adjusted to post-Napoleonic life. Hunger and unrest lingered. Science of agriculture and trade influenced recovery. Farmers rebuilt farms, merchants reopened markets. Revolution's chaos transitioned into structure. People learned resilience, cooperation, and adaptation. History demonstrated that societal recovery depends on ordinary citizens' ability to rebuild. Change survives not only through policy, but through everyday action. Chapter 53. Revolutionary ideals inspired movements beyond France. Belgium, Italy, and Poland saw uprisings. Science of communication, pamphlets, newspapers, speeches spread knowledge rapidly. Citizens elsewhere emulated French examples. Revolution's energy became contagious. Borders could not contain ideas. History proved that principles of liberty, equality, and justice transcend geography. One nation's upheaval can ripple across continents. Chapter 54. Industrial growth accelerated post-revolution. Factories, roads, and canals emerged. Science of mechanics and engineering combined with social transformation. Revolution had prepared citizens for change, teaching discipline, innovation, and organization. Economic growth became intertwined with social progress. France adapted rapidly, proving that political upheaval can catalyze practical, technological, and industrial advancement. History intertwined ideas with infrastructure. Chapter 55. Art and culture reflected revolutionary ideals. Paintings, music, and literature celebrated liberty and patriotism. Science of perspective and technique enhanced storytelling. Citizens consumed images and words that reinforced identity and pride. Revolution shaped imagination. Even after chaos, ideas survived in galleries, theaters, and books. History showed that culture can preserve and propagate ideals as effectively as laws or armies. Chapter 56. Revolutionary memory shaped education. Schools taught civic responsibility, patriotism, and history. Science of pedagogy guided curriculum. Children learned about rights, duties, and citizenship. Revolution's lessons extended to the next generation. Society invested in knowledge to prevent repetition of past failures. History demonstrated that education institutionalizes ideals, embedding change beyond political cycles. Chapter 57. French women gained subtle influence. Social reforms, salons, and education empowered some. Science of social networks demonstrated indirect power. Revolution reshaped roles slowly, showing incremental change can be effective. Women guided families, public opinion, and civic awareness. Revolution's influence spread through households, proving societal transformation operates both in streets and private spaces. History noted quiet, persistent change. Chapter 58. Military science evolved rapidly. Revolutionary and Napoleonic wars introduced new tactics, supply strategies, and logistics. Citizen soldiers became professionalized. Battlefield innovation spread across Europe. Revolution's urgency accelerated technological and strategic development. History recorded that war catalyzes learning and adaptation, turning ordinary humans into skilled practitioners and nations into advanced systems, blending courage with science. Chapter 59. Law and justice were redefined. Napoleonic Code simplified laws, standardized property rights, and clarified civic obligations. Science of administration and logic guided reform. Citizens understood their rights and duties clearly for the first time. Revolution's principles became practical. Society moved from arbitrary rule to structured governance. History proved that institutionalizing ideals ensures lasting impact beyond the upheaval. Chapter 60. Revolutionary symbolism persisted. Liberty trees, flags, and monuments reminded citizens daily. Science of psychology and perception reinforced identity. Symbols unified communities, reminded them of shared struggle, and inspired civic pride. Even in calm times, revolutionary memory remained alive. History demonstrated that visual and symbolic reinforcement strengthens social cohesion, preserving the energy of ideas long after events fade. Chapter 61. Napoleon's exile to St. Helena confirmed revolution's long shadow. Citizens reflected on years of upheaval and reform. Science of memory and documentation preserved lessons. Diaries, letters, and newspapers carried stories. Ordinary people internalized triumphs and mistakes. Revolution's influence survived far from battlefields. History proved that ideas outlast individuals, shaping society long after rulers vanish. Chapter 62. Restoration monarchies returned, but power was tempered. Citizens expected accountability and fairness. Science of governance emphasized oversight and balance. Revolution's lessons influenced policy subtly. Leaders adjusted tactics, learning that suppression alone cannot erase ideals. Society stabilized but remained vigilant. History showed that change persists quietly, even under new authority, when ideals embed in culture and memory. Chapter 63. Economic recovery continued unevenly. Agriculture, trade, and early industry reshaped daily life. Science of logistics, finance, and productivity guided progress. Citizens adapted to changing markets and laws. Revolution's disruption transitioned into growth. Everyday decisions, from farming to commerce, carried revolutionary echoes. History demonstrated that societal transformation requires both structural reform and citizen resilience. Chapter 64. Napoleonic veterans became community leaders. Military discipline and civic responsibility guided rebuilding towns and institutions. Science of leadership and organization applied in local contexts. Revolution created skilled citizens capable of guiding society beyond conflict. Ordinary people carried lessons forward. History showed that education, experience, and civic participation are crucial for stabilizing post-revolutionary societies. Chapter 65. New constitutions emerged across Europe, inspired by French ideas. Science of law and political philosophy guided reforms. Citizens debated rights, duties, and representation. Revolution's ideals shaped governance elsewhere. Ordinary people became participants in political discourse. History illustrated that a nation's upheaval can influence distant societies, spreading principles of equality, justice, and civic engagement far beyond borders. Chapter 66. Industrial innovation accelerated. Factories produced textiles, weapons, and tools. Science of engineering, energy, and efficiency transformed cities. Citizens worked in structured environments shaped by revolutionary discipline. Revolution had trained society to adapt quickly. Economic growth mirrored political lessons. Organization, planning, and accountability mattered. History demonstrated that social upheaval can catalyze practical advancement and modernization. Chapter 67. Revolutionary art and literature thrived. Poetry, novels, and paintings explored liberty, struggle, and identity. Science of perspective, technique, and print technology amplified messages. Citizens absorbed history and ideology through culture. Revolution's energy persisted creatively. History showed that ideas endure not only in governments, but also in imagination, preserving spirit and lessons for future generations. Chapter 68. Public health improved gradually. Medical knowledge, sanitation, and urban planning advanced. Science of hygiene and epidemiology benefited from revolutionary focus on citizen welfare. Ordinary lives were safer, longer, and more predictable. Revolution's upheaval indirectly accelerated practical science. History illustrated that societal transformation often affects health, infrastructure, and daily life, not just politics and law. Chapter 69. Education expanded beyond elites. Schools, technical institutes, and civic programs grew. Science of pedagogy and curriculum design guided reform. Citizens gained literacy, civic knowledge, and practical skills. Revolution had democratized access to knowledge, strengthening communities. History demonstrated that long-term societal change depends on spreading education and empowering ordinary people to understand, participate, and innovate. Chapter 70. National identity strengthened. Citizens united through shared history, symbols, and civic responsibility. Science of psychology and communication reinforced pride. Revolution created a collective consciousness. Ordinary people recognized themselves as participants in a larger story. History recorded that national identity emerges through shared struggle, culture, and memory, binding generations and shaping society's long-term trajectory. Chapter 71. Revolutionary influence shaped law enforcement. Police and civic guards enforced new codes. Science of organization, surveillance, and logistics guided operations. Citizens experienced structured authority replacing arbitrary rule. Revolution had taught that order requires method. Public safety became a civic responsibility. History showed that societal stability relies on rules, training, and citizen compliance, embedding lessons from years of upheaval. Chapter 72. Trade networks expanded across Europe. Merchants adapted to Napoleonic and post-revolutionary markets. Science of finance, navigation, and communication improved efficiency. Citizens participated in commerce previously restricted by feudal systems. Revolution fostered opportunity and mobility. History demonstrated that economic transformation often follows political disruption, reshaping livelihoods and empowering ordinary people to influence national prosperity. Chapter 73. Citizens engaged in local governance. Neighborhood councils and civic committees influenced policies. Science of administration, organization, and accountability guided operations. Ordinary people wielded authority once reserved for elites. Revolution's energy persisted in community life. History revealed that lasting change depends on participation, ensuring that ideals endure beyond dramatic national events, embedded in daily civic practice. Chapter 74. Cultural festivals reinforced revolutionary memory. Liberty celebrations, public performances, and monuments kept ideals visible. Science of psychology and symbolism strengthened cohesion. Citizens connected through shared rituals, internalizing lessons of struggle, equality, and freedom. Revolution's values became habitual. History proved that traditions and symbols preserve social cohesion, ensuring the spirit of change persists beyond political cycles. Chapter 75. Infrastructure transformed cities. Roads, bridges, and canals improved trade and mobility. Science of engineering and planning guided projects. Citizens experienced practical benefits from revolutionary discipline applied to construction. Economic and social networks expanded. Revolution taught that systematic planning enables growth. History showed that civic projects translate ideals into tangible improvements, linking theory with daily life. Chapter 76. Napoleonic veterans influenced politics. Military experience informed civic decisions and administration. Science of leadership, strategy, and organization guided communities. Citizens respected knowledge gained from revolution and war. Practical expertise shaped governance. History demonstrated that ordinary individuals can implement lessons from upheaval, bridging past experience with present societal needs, creating enduring stability. Chapter 77. Revolutionary science and technology progressed. Experiments in physics, chemistry, and mechanics advanced. Citizens benefited from practical applications in industry and agriculture. Revolution emphasized curiosity, observation, and method. Science became intertwined with societal change. History illustrated that intellectual and technological growth often accelerates during periods of political transformation, linking ideas with action and progress. Chapter 78. Public opinion became a powerful force. Newspapers, pamphlets, and speeches shaped perception. Science of communication influenced behavior and loyalty. Citizens understood their voices mattered. Revolution had taught engagement, debate, and responsibility. Ideas traveled fast, influencing policy and society. History showed that informed, active populations are essential for sustaining change, embedding ideals in social consciousness. Chapter 79. Citizens embraced civic responsibility. Voting, jury duty, and local participation increased. Science of administration and governance reinforced structure. Revolution's lessons in accountability and equality shaped behavior. Society learned that rights accompany duties. History demonstrated that participatory engagement ensures revolutionary ideals persist, embedding them into societal norms, beyond dramatic events or charismatic leaders. Chapter 80. Memory of the French Revolution persisted. Monuments, art, and education preserved stories. Science of record-keeping and documentation ensured accuracy. Citizens learned from successes, mistakes, and resilience. Revolution influenced generations, shaping law, society, and culture. History proved that transformative movements leave lasting legacies when documented and remembered, ensuring ideals continue to inspire change long after events conclude. Chapter 81. Revolutionary ideas influenced political philosophy globally. Thinkers studied equality, liberty, and citizenship. Science of logic and reason guided arguments. Citizens and leaders debated rights and governance. France's upheaval became a model for reformers abroad. History showed that revolutionary energy can inspire distant nations, spreading principles of freedom and justice far beyond borders and battlefields. Chapter 82. Citizen armies inspired military reform. National service and organized drills became standard. Science of training, strategy, and coordination improved efficiency. Ordinary people learned discipline, teamwork, and resilience. Revolution transformed society by creating skilled, loyal forces. History demonstrated that shared struggle cultivates competence and unity, proving that mass participation strengthens both military and civic structures. Chapter 83. Economic policy stabilized gradually. Tax systems, trade regulations, and property rights balanced society. Science of finance and logistics guided decisions. Citizens adapted, recovering from scarcity. Revolution's disruption transitioned into structure. History revealed that sustainable economic change requires method, patience, and active citizen engagement, transforming lessons from crisis into frameworks for prosperity and stability. Chapter 84. The arts reflected revolutionary ideals subtly. Literature, music, and theater celebrated struggle, identity, and justice. Science of narrative, symbolism, and technique amplified messages. Citizens absorbed values through culture. Revolution's energy persisted creatively. History showed that ideas endure in imagination, influencing generations long after political upheaval subsides, embedding lessons in both mind and society. Chapter 85. Legal reforms clarified rights. Napoleonic Code standardized laws, property rights, and civic obligations. Science of administration applied systematically. Citizens understood boundaries and privileges. Revolution's principles became tangible in daily life. History demonstrated that codified systems solidify ideals, ensuring lasting societal impact. Change persisted through clear rules, embedding lessons of equality and responsibility in governance. Chapter 86. Public education grew steadily. Schools taught civic responsibility, literacy, and practical skills. Science of pedagogy guided curriculum design. Citizens gained knowledge and opportunities. Revolution's ideals became institutionalized. History proved that societal transformation endures when education spreads ideas to future generations, creating informed, capable citizens able to uphold and propagate revolutionary values. Chapter 87. Infrastructure and urban planning improved. Roads, bridges, and public buildings facilitated trade and communication. Science of engineering and logistics guided projects. Citizens benefited directly from systematic planning. Revolution's discipline shaped practical progress. History illustrated that societal development requires both vision and execution, connecting ideals to tangible improvements that enhance daily life and national capacity. Chapter 88. National identity strengthened through symbols and rituals. Flags, monuments, and festivals united citizens. Science of psychology reinforced cohesion. Revolution created collective memory and pride. Ordinary people internalized shared history, shaping behavior and expectations. History revealed that symbolic and cultural reinforcement ensures ideals persist beyond immediate events, embedding energy and values into the fabric of society. Chapter 89. Women's influence increased subtly. Education, salons, and social networks allowed participation in civic life. Science of social dynamics enhanced understanding of indirect power. Revolution shaped roles gradually. Citizens recognized contribution beyond politics. History demonstrated that societal transformation operates in households, communities, and networks, proving that persistent, subtle change can reshape culture over time. Chapter 90. Revolutionary memory guided future policy. Leaders referenced lessons of equality, justice, and civic responsibility. Science of governance emphasized observation, adaptation, and reform. Citizens internalized collective experience. Revolution's energy-informed decisions long after chaos ended. History showed that transformative movements endure when documented and remembered, influencing not only laws and institutions, but the mindset of entire societies. Chapter 91. Revolution inspired constitutional change globally. Nations studied France's experience to balance power, rights, and governance. Science of law and political reasoning guided reformers. Citizens debated participation and representation. Revolution became a model, showing that change is possible. History demonstrated that practical lessons from upheaval can shape governments far beyond the original nation, spreading ideals of liberty and equality. Chapter 92. Citizen militias influenced national defense strategies. Science of training, tactics, and organization improved readiness. Ordinary people gained confidence and skill. Revolution's energy transformed armies into structured, disciplined forces. History proved that participation cultivates competence, demonstrating that civic and military responsibility reinforce each other, preparing societies to protect both ideals and territory simultaneously. Chapter 93. Economic modernization accelerated. Banking, taxation, and trade systems evolved. Science of finance and logistics optimized efficiency. Citizens recovered from scarcity, gaining stability and opportunity. Revolution's disruption transitioned into structured growth. History showed that long-term prosperity depends on methodical policies, citizen engagement, and lessons learned from crisis, linking ideals with practical systems that sustain society. Chapter 94. Cultural memory preserved revolutionary values. Literature, art, and music conveyed liberty, equality, and civic pride. Science of communication amplified messages. Citizens internalized lessons through storytelling. Revolution's energy persisted creatively. History demonstrated that ideas survive in culture, ensuring that generations learn from struggle, embedding ideals beyond politics, laws, and direct governance. Chapter 95. Legal reforms codified equality. Napoleonic Code ensured consistent rights and civic responsibilities. Science of administration guided application. Citizens understood boundaries and privileges. Revolution's principles became permanent in law. History revealed that codification preserves societal change, creating stability while ensuring that ideals of fairness and equality continue to shape governance and citizen behavior. Chapter 96. Public education spread revolutionary knowledge. Schools taught civic duty, literacy, and practical skills. Science of pedagogy structured learning effectively. Citizens gained opportunities for social mobility. Revolution's lessons embedded in institutions. History proved that knowledge is a powerful tool for sustaining societal transformation, creating informed citizens capable of maintaining and evolving the ideals that shaped their nation. Chapter 97. Infrastructure projects connected communities. Roads, canals, and bridges improved trade and communication. Science of engineering and planning guided construction. Citizens experienced direct benefits. Revolution's discipline shaped practical progress, showing that organized systems translate ideals into tangible improvements. History illustrated that societal change requires vision, planning, and execution, linking revolutionary principles to daily life and national growth. Chapter 98. National symbols united citizens. Flags, monuments, and festivals reinforced identity. Science of psychology and perception strengthened cohesion. Revolution created shared memory and pride. Citizens internalized collective experience. History showed that symbolic reinforcement preserves ideals, embedding revolutionary energy in culture and behavior, ensuring that identity and values persist across generations long after initial events conclude. Chapter 99. Women gained subtle social influence. Education, salons, and networks allowed participation in civic life. Science of social dynamics revealed indirect power. Revolution reshaped society gradually. Citizens recognized contributions beyond formal politics. History demonstrated that persistent, incremental change in culture and social structures often outlasts dramatic political upheaval, influencing norms and expectations quietly but effectively over time. Chapter 100. The French Revolution left enduring legacy. Laws, education, civic responsibility, and national identity persisted. Science of observation and record-keeping preserved lessons. Citizens internalized ideals, shaping society for generations. Revolution showed that collective action, ideas, and persistence transform nations. History proved that human ambition, courage, and thought can reshape law, culture, and identity, leaving a permanent mark on the world. The revolution ended, but its impact stayed. Laws, rights, and civic identity kept evolving long after the final battles. What France fought for continues to shape nations today. History doesn't fade, it echoes, teaching us how people, ideas, and choices can rebuild the world.